Hey, what is up, Omni athletes? If you have not registered yet for the 2019 Future of Sport Conference, do it today. Go to live.theomniathlete.com. This conference is truly going to transform the way you look at sport, the way you compete in sport, and if you are a coach or a leader who's working to bring sports consciousness into your team, into your organization, into your client base, whoever it is that you serve, and you need help building that bridge in translating the practices of higher consciousness, the practices of meditation, mindfulness, EFT, training principles around energetics and embodiment, and how that all translates into athletic performance and in a way that you can communicate its value, and by extension, the value you deliver in being able to bring that work to sport and to the world. This is the conference for you to be at. We are going to have an incredible list of speakers and teachers that all have gone through the journey of translating that work, that value, that power into athletic performance and into peak performance for sport, for life, through movement. So be there July 19th through 21st in San Francisco. The Future of Sport Conference. Go to live.theomniathlete.com to register today. Grab your ticket. We'll see you guys in San Francisco. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Omni Athlete. You're here because you believe that you can be more. And so do we. We created this show and company to do it with you by empowering your performance with the wisdom and techniques of the world's highest achieving body, mind, and spirit competitors. Okay, so today's guest is a best-selling author, elite endurance athlete, and entrepreneur who is on a mission to get 100 million people moving and off the couch. Through grit, tenacity, and a belief in the power of physical exertion as a path to reintroduce a person to their authentic self, he has built Spartan into the world's leading obstacle racing company and fastest growing sports movement. While it's easy to look at the global success of Spartan Race as an overnight event, he will be the first one to tell you that it's been anything but easy. 18 plus years in the making, his journey to show the world what's possible when you learn to shift your frame of reference by doing things you never thought you could has only been possible because these principles are the truth he lives. It's my pleasure to introduce to Omni Athlete, the founder and CEO of Spartan, Joe De Sena. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me. You blew up my head there. I'm not going to fit out of my door.
Let's see if we can keep it just compact enough, right? So, Joe, this is really interesting because usually when we have guests on the show, we're talking about athletic performance only through the lens of what an athlete has done. And you've got this really interesting perspective because you're both an elite athlete and somebody building an elite sport for athletes. So the place I want to start actually is, as a competitor, where have core values showed up for you in this journey?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would not say I'm not an elite. I literally just put one foot in front of the other or one pedal in front of the other and just kind of muscle through it in extreme pain, probably more pain than other people feel because I'm not that talented at anything really. But I would say, so the question is, explain that question.
So core values, right? What is that Spartan code meant to you as an athlete or as a competitor?
Yeah. So I think, we have 4 children at the house. And when I think back to my childhood, I grew up around a mom who was a Spartan in her own right. She practiced and believed in yoga and meditation and became a vegan, but not just dabbling in it, like really like seriously attacking it, like 30 days straight of meditation, fasting for 30 days while she was meditating. She was it was another whole level.
Wow.
Dad, who was a workaholic lunatic, didn't care so much about health and wellness, but really cared about productivity. Super entrepreneur, pushed it to the limits, 22 hours a day. I'm not joking. Like people talk about that. Like this guy didn't stop. And then surrounded by a little society, a neighborhood where hard work and hustle, good and bad, you could be doing bad things or good things, but no matter what you were doing, you were getting after it, was respected in a big way. And so all I did was take that and package it up into a mindset that I use to get through things. And so I am not traditionally educated I wasn't part of some, great sports teams with coaches that had wonderful sentences that I could chisel into my ceiling over my bed. I didn't know any of this stuff. I still don't. But what I knew was that you just don't quit. You work really hard, and you get to the finish line. And by the way, whether there's just you or 100 people at the finish line cheering, it doesn't really matter. It was the journey that mattered. So that's it. I don't know if I answered the question, but that's the way I look at the world. And with my own kids, somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, are they going to be failures if they don't start a business?" And I said, "They're going to be failures if they don't work hard. I don't really care success or but they just better be working every freaking day."
So I think there's this perception that when you are pushing yourself to the limit, when you're working hard, when you're pushing the productivity envelope, whether you're an athlete or just a human being in general, that this notion of connecting to a healthy mindset, a holistic way to heal yourself, to eat right, to sleep right, to do all these other pieces that allow you to push that boundary is somehow in competition with that principle. How have those worked together for you?
So yesterday, again, my answers to your questions may be convoluted. I apologize in advance. Great. But what pops in my head is yesterday I was at a holistic doctor's office. And I've been around holistic medicine for 45 years because my mother was into this when nobody was into this, okay? And my stomach's been bothering me for the last few years. We did a series of tests with these holistic doctors, 9 different tests, saliva tests, blood tests. You could figure out the other tests. And at the end of the meeting with these doctors, they were like, "Oh, you're pretty in tune." And I was like, well, I'm in tune, I guess, because I do these things where I wake up in the morning and this morning I was running 10 miles in the rain, followed by 300 burpees, right? And so, yes, to your question, that could be counterproductive to meditating and focus. But I was pretty damn focused in the rain this morning. You have to be. And I was pretty in tune. And as far as I'm concerned, it was as frustrating as it was, and as hard as I was working, it was pretty relaxing too, because I wasn't being peppered with all the emails and the phone calls and the texts and everything. And so I don't know, my mother could sit in a room, like I said, for 30 days and meditate and chant. For me, I'd rather go run in the wilderness and do it that way, or I'd rather do it with burpees. We respect, and I respect these incredible athletes that do these incredible things, but it's a lot harder to run a business. You know what I mean? Because I was with Kai, I can't think of his last name, top surfer in the world right now. I was with him a month ago, and I was like, "Hey, you want to become CEO of Spartan?" And he was like, "Oh, I got to go in an office?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I have to type emails?" I said, "Yeah." "I have to sit in meetings?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Forget it. No way." Right? So people look at him, and obviously he's amazing, just like any super athlete is, but it's fun and it's meditative. You don't need to give the 4-hour workweek book to some top surfer. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question.
It totally lines up. One of the things I heard you say that I thought was really interesting is you were talking on an interview you were doing, you were talking about really wanting to, you heard one of the top athletes was going to have pizza before a race because it was cheap, right? And this balance of wanting to be able to make competing as a Spartan athlete a competitive style of life, something that people can aspire to be. A kid growing up can know, hey, I can make a living doing this. Do those athletes eat, sleep, and breathe this same code?
I think if you and I could snap our fingers and blink our eyes and go back 2,600 years and we were living in ancient Sparta right now, I think the Spartans would have loved pizza. I think they would have loved beer. Okay. I think they would have loved couches and indoor plumbing. What kept them focused and eating just the black soup, which tasted terrible, I'm told, and training like no one we know has ever trained, was impending battles, life and death. The reason there are professors at colleges in the classroom and they don't just leave all the kids to study themselves is because human beings need something to hold them accountable, right? And so in ancient Sparta's case, what held them accountable was life and death. In college's case is the professor and the grades. At work, it's your boss and the threat of being fired. But for the elite athletes, what holds them accountable, one, they're probably wired a little better than many of us. They've got a little more talent than most of us, but they want to make some money. They want a reputation. There's that battle that I just described in ancient Sparta that is impending and forcing them to stay on track. But if they didn't have that, it'd be pizza and beer. And so we want to change a lot of lives. I want to change 100 million lives. And unfortunately, for 99% of the population globally, first world, second world, third world, doesn't matter. You need something on your calendar. Hopefully it's not a war. You need something. Get married. I notice when people are getting married, I have a wedding business too on our farm in Vermont. When people are getting married, they start training. They want to look good. So do something that'll force you to live a holistic, healthy lifestyle.
When you first started doing these elite endurance races and really pushing your body and reconnecting to your body this way, if I'm not mistaken, coming out of Wall Street, right, where you didn't feel like you were in the shape that you wanted to be in, where you didn't have that same connection, did you feel your mind changing as your body changed?
Does the mind live inside the body?
Mm-hmm.
The mind and the body are one thing. So the thing that drives me crazier than anything else is to see a successful man or woman running a large organization, making lots of money and letting their body go. My father was one of those people. He was very successful for a period of time, but he wasn't taking care of himself. So how do they justify it, I wonder? Do you say to yourself, oh, well, those people over there, they're athletes. They just focus on their bodies. I use my mind and I make money. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing. So are you going to be a more successful athlete if you keep all the other parts of your house in order? Or are you going to be a more successful CEO if you keep all the other parts of your house in order? So I don't really understand that. I somehow got it from a young age that maybe it was because of the yin and yang of mom and dad that it's all one. And so the healthier I am in my body, by the way, the Spartans believe, number one, before anything else, structure. The structure, this thing they called the structure, had to be in tip-top shape. And if they could nail that, everything else fell in place. And they're right. On an airplane, what do they say? You take your oxygen first before you help somebody else.
So as our bodies change, one of the pieces of your book that really stood out to me is this idea that we shift our frames of reference, right? So as we start doing things, the first time you come up to an obstacle that you don't think you can get over, through, around, whatever the case is, whether it's literal or metaphoric, you change what you think of yourself. What are maybe a story that you've experienced firsthand, or one that you've seen of somebody who's really had that shift occur after going through a Spartan race?
Well, let me explain it. Let me explain it in a little more detail, because I think about this every single day for 40 plus years. And the reason I think about it every single day is when I was in Queens and I was running my business at a young age, I was working because I had a gun to my head. I wanted to make money. I had a motivation, and I would hire young kids. I was young. I was preteens. Okay. And I would hire young kids, and they would last a day or a half a day, or they didn't want to do it, or they weren't motivated. And then probably when I was 14 or 15, I stumbled upon two Polish guys. Okay. They had just come over from Poland. This was before the wall was down. So they grew up differently than most people listening to this podcast grew up. And they outworked me. They were much more hardcore than me. They didn't own the business. They were employees. They didn't care about lunch. They didn't care about vacations. Everything was yes. They just wanted more hours. And so for a decade, this turned and churned in my head. Why is this? Why are these two people so unbelievable? And it was because they had a different frame of reference, right? If they grew up in hardship, in cold showers, in limited food, who knows what, are you kidding me? They were happy to be on the truck with me. Like it was actually a vacation from where they came from, right? So their frame of reference, the glasses they were wearing through life just were different than the kids that grew up that I was hiring, that where I grew up. And so what I started to mess with in my 20s was, could you change your frame of reference? And I came to the conclusion that, like, if we were to chart life, okay, and so you've got an x-axis and a y-axis, if you could visualize it. I would argue, just generally amongst 7 billion people, life starts out easier no matter where you are in the world, because mom's taking care of you, at least for the first few days or weeks or months or years, right? Life starts out easier and it gets harder. So it goes up and to the right on the chart.
Yeah.
It just gets harder because then you die at the end. Born, dead, easier, harder, right? The slope might change depending on where you grow up, the kind of parents you have. Grow up in Poland, the curve could change. It could slow. You could become a billionaire, but generally low to high. And so if life is going to get harder, if we agree with my theory on that chart, life's going to get harder. Shouldn't we practice for harder? And so I started toying with this idea, like, let's manufacture some adversity. Now, if we grew up in Poland in the 70s and 60s and 50s, we probably don't have to practice adversity. Probably pretty hard. Yeah. Right? If we're in a slum in the favela in Brazil, we don't have to practice adversity. We probably deserve a couch and a hot shower. But for everybody else, where life's going to get harder, it's pretty easy. We should be practicing just like you practice for sport or music or school or work. You practice everything else. You need to practice adversity. And so that's really the beginning in my mind of where Spartan, the modern Spartan, came from, which is let's get people tougher. I got my matcha latte just arrived, by the way. How soft am I? I think, and then the question you asked was, give me an example of people whose life, well, my life has changed. Yeah. When I did hard things, all of a sudden, I wrote an email to a friend of mine, very, very successful person, makes hundreds of millions of dollars. And I wrote an email and I said, I just got done with a 10-day race going through Fiji. I was starving. I just recapped the whole thing. He said, holy shit, Joe. I literally couldn't get a parking spot close to the grocery store today, and I had to carry 2 bags, an extra block, and I was pissed off. And that reinforced this theory of, like, change your frame of reference.
This has been really energizing, Joe. Before I ask my final question, where can these guys go to connect with you online?
Just go to Spartan.com. If you are feeling really frisky and you want to come to the farm, it's Joe at Spartan.com is my email, joe@Spartan.com. If you don't have the money for a race, don't worry about it. Email me, I'll give you a race. It's not about that. You need a book, I'll give you a book. Whatever you want is no problem. Most people don't ask for anything. If you do send me an email, make it really short, like 1 or 2 sentences, and get right to the point. And that's it, really. Yeah. Check out we have a podcast too. You check out the podcast. I don't know where to find it, but you can find it somewhere.
So this show is called Omni Athlete because we want to understand what it takes to be the ultimate mind, body, and spirit competitor. So the final question for you, Joe, is what does it mean to you to be an Omni Athlete?
I don't think you could have everything in life. I think certainly me, and I think most people, when we get on a track with, like, fitness, or we get on a track with business, or we get on a track with family, whatever it is, the other 2/3 of your life suffer a bit. And I think the Omni Athlete would be this perfect trifecta, let's call it, because that's a term we use in our business, where it's evenly split between mind, body, spirit. Unfortunately, I could not give any of your listeners a methodology to getting there because I'm not there. I'm always unbalanced. I'm so unbalanced, as a matter of fact, that on my hip I have a word that means balance in another language. And it's supposed to remind me to stay balanced, which I don't do.
That's powerful, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Guys, go check out Spartan, check out Joe's world. I mean, if you haven't competed in a race like this or just an event like this before, go do it. And other than that, just dive into the content they're producing. Like, there is such an authentic level of connection to what it means to just push our boundaries and what that can look like through the physical body without having to come up with some crazy goal or some absurd thing that we're pushing towards. It's just about taking that next step, moving one foot in front of the other. And what you'll learn so fast, whether it's diving into Spartan or diving into Joe's books or his content, is it's just authentic. It's real. He eats, sleeps, and breathes this, and the entire organization lives it. So do whatever you can, dive deep into their world. And until next time, thank you for watching this episode of Omni Athlete. Hey, what is up, guys? Thank you for watching another episode of Omni Athlete. Please go like and subscribe to our podcast. That is our goal right now, is just to build this community as big as we possibly can. And we need your help to do it. So like and subscribe, share our content, guys. If this content adds any value to your world, that helps you perform, connect, go deeper, go wider, whatever it is that it does for you, if it provides value, all we ask is that you share our content and help grow this community. We can't accomplish our goal of elevating global consciousness through sport without you. You are an integral part of this mission and this purpose, and we need your help. So please go like, subscribe, and share our content, and continue to help us build and grow this community that is truly motivated to not just elevate consciousness, but elevate and shift the very culture of sport, so that we can truly experience the athletic experience in a brand new and energizing way for so many people, guys. So thank you, and please like and subscribe. Until next time.